No, so delighted to say I'm joined by Limerick Dart star and World Championship hopeful William O'Connor. William will be in action in the World Darts Championship over the next couple of weeks. He'll be in first round action against America's Dan Lauby. But before we discuss that, William, very good afternoon to you. And we're just going to look back, first of all, from your own point of view, at the Players' Championship finals last weekend. You managed to make it the third round. Overall, did you find it a good weekend for yourself?
I suppose the good weekend overall, I suppose, for the rankings and that, it was a good start, I suppose, and a disappointing finish, but I took it at the start anyway,
Yeah, it was Chris Dobie in the first round. I think the statistics, they don't always tell the tale, but he hit you for 10 180s, yet you came out the right side of it 6-5. So despite, the heavy scoring of Chris Dobie, you managed to come away with the win.
Yeah, I kind of felt as though I was kind of in control of the game at times, and then he hit me with a big score to kind of keep in the game. So it was kind of bad timing to hit him, I suppose. It was odd timing, I suppose, the way it worked out. It was just good timing for me and bad timing for him hitting him, and things like that.
Yeah, that brought you on to Saturday afternoon, and you beat Krzysztof Ratajski. I think you went 2-0 down. You were broken early on, so you're 2-0 down in the first two legs. It's such a short format that it can be pretty unforgiving, but you managed to dig it back, and you were a break up, and you managed to win 6-4. So, you showed a bit of defiance, I suppose, that's needed in the game of darts, that despite a slow start on the scoring front, that you were able to turn the tables on an informed player like Ratajski.
Yeah, he's a tough fella to play now as well, but look, I was just happy to get over and get into the next one. But look, them things go right, but sometimes they go wrong other times. So you take the good with the bad, I suppose.
Yeah, you played Jose de Souza in the third round. You came unstuck 10-7, I think it was in the end. But Jose is Premier League champion only maybe 13, 14 months ago. So from your point of view, you're stepping up to play the bigger names. You managed to get it back, I think, to 6-5, despite de Souza nearly hitting a 9-darter. You won that leg, I think, even despite that. You just weren't able, I think, to get the game level. Was that it? Did you always feel like you were chasing it against him?
I felt as though I was struggling to get comfortable up there. The conditions, in fairness, inside there were terrible. It was freezing. I know it's the same for everyone as well, I suppose, in that sense. But I need to be warm to play my best. I need to be comfortable, and I think the venue didn't allow that. So, look, it's not just me. I'm not the only player that suffered from it. A lot of different players did as well, and I think a lot of players would have progressed further in the competition only par or two, But look, it's something you have to deal with, I suppose, and you have to get over it.
Yeah, I was watching it on TV. I know you were on the streaming board at the same time, but Michael Van Gerwen, I think, won around the same time, and he said it was absolutely freezing up there. For those that don't know, it's Butlin's Minehead it's the venue. It's effectively a tent from what I can gather.
Yeah.
What you put that down to? Was there anything said by the officials there? Or was it just a case of get on with it, lads? The averages seem to be down across the board for a lot of players, a lot of missed doubles, a lot of players hitting 20-30% in the doubles when they normally be closer to 50%. So that seemed to be a factor, and as you said, it wasn't just one player.
No, at the same time, when you're there to do a job. You're not there to complain and start moaning and cribbing about things. You have to get on with it, because if you start focusing on that, you're not going to progress. So you have to kind of get on with it. Look, it's not something you should have to say, is it? To me, it's something that should be dealt with first and foremost. Is for the conditions to be right, for the players to play if they can. Not only for them, but for the cameras, for the people at home, for everyone. That's the way I see it. Look, it is what it is, and you have to try and adapt and overcome. It's not easy.
Yeah, one venue with Hopp will have the temperature up a little bit, and indeed, I suppose the quality of darts will be the Alexandra Palace next week or next couple of weeks. You're getting back to a World Championship. You were there last year behind closed doors. It was, I'm sure, like any event we saw in different sports and different codes behind closed doors, a bit of a strange experience. It's going to be, I suppose, night and day in that respect. That's the first thing. I suppose it's going to be different this time around.
Yeah, last year didn't even seem like a World Championships. It was, I don't know, it was dead. It wasn't nice. It was terrible, Just a big blank hall. Could have done it at home. It wasn't nice, but look, this year the crowd is back. That's what you want to do. That's why you're there in the first place, isn't it? To play in front of the crowd, enjoy it, and everything else. So,
yeah.
Look, at least we're getting the opportunity now to do it this year, and looking forward to a bit of a run.
Yeah, you've won. I think looking back at the last couple of years or last three editions of it, you've won the first round 3-0 against various different opponents. This time you're up against the American Danny Lauby from Indiana in America. So, what do you know about him? As far as I know, you've not met on any. You've never met up at the Oche, the two of you. So, what do you know about him?
No, I don't know anything about him, to be honest with you. I think he played in the World Cup. I know he played in the World Championship before. Other than that, I don't know. I have never watched him play. I know nothing about him. But look, at the end of the day, it's not for me to focus on another player. All I have to do is focus on myself, do what I can do, and he do what he does, and it's none of my business. So I just have to get up there and perform. If I don't perform, no matter who I play, I'm going home. So I know he's going to be practicing. He's going to be doing the same thing. He knows what he has to do, same as me. I have to play my best. And if I don't, I'm going home. And likewise for him, if he's not at his best, he's going home.
Yeah, it sets the draw itself is the top 32 are seeded, so you're outside that, unfortunately. But you get a game under your belt. You'll hope to obviously progress. But if you do, you're up against Glen Durrant. He's a player he won the Premier League. Sorry, I might have said the South one, but he won the Premier League in just over 12 months ago. But since then, he's really struggled for form. I'm not sure if you know Glen at all, but he's really struggled for form at any event. He's pulled out of some events because of that. It probably presents an opportunity for either yourself or Danny Lauby when you progress, that while you're obviously up against a quality player, you're up against a player that probably isn't at their top of their game right now.
I don't know. Look, every game is different, and every time you go out there, different results. So look, I'm going up there and I'm expecting the best form of him. I'll have to win my first one first, but I do expect, if I win the first one, if I do play Glen, I do expect him to be at his best. As you say, he's a major champion. He's a world champion. You can't go up there with an attitude that he's not going to play well, because he's going to batter you off the board. And I expect him to be the best version of himself. And I need to be at my best. And it's just as simple as that. I'm just going to focus on me and see what happens.
Yeah, if we can turn the clock back on previous years, the casual darts fan might recall the thing with Gerwin Price a couple of years ago, where what seemed to be a miscount on TV, and it's something that people. I don't think you're smirking there. I don't think you seemed to say him afterwards. You didn't realise what happened there. Could you clarify that? I think you went for double one when you had actually 4 left. So it was just
no idea.
You no idea what happened.
No idea. And you know what? Never happened in my life before, and I can guarantee you it'll probably never happen to me again. Just something that happened. I have no idea. I can't. It was like I looked at the board, saw 2 left, and said, right, 2 left. Other than that, I couldn't tell you. You can't really hear. You can't really hear the mic. That's for the cameras. That's for the telly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I honestly don't know. And you know what? It's gone so long now. I don't really care. If I went back for a second shot and he missed, I would have done the same thing again.
Yeah. What about
so at least that didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose he put you out of before you realised what was going on. But what about Gerwin Price? I mean, he's I suppose controversial in some people's books, but as you said, he beat you there in a game that you showed more than enough quality, I think, and people realised the quality of both players and show there. But since then, and I think especially in the last maybe 18 months, he's gone from being maybe a guy who was flattering to deceive to now. I think everyone would probably fear him. His A game is probably right up there. He's capable of winning games. It just shows that when you get a momentum that's behind yourself, that players are capable of that, and Gerwin has done it.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's number 1 in the world, isn't he? So yeah, look, everyone's capable. I mean, everyone that's going to be up on that stage, whether they play well that day or not, they're there for a reason. You know what I mean? They're there on merit. So can't take anyone for granted. So especially the likes of Gerwin Price there and all of them. Like I say, controversial, but not to me. I mean, I do my own thing and I go home to my family and I don't let anything bother me.
Yeah, the year as it's been, I think you came back there recently in the last couple of Players' Championships. I think you lost semi-final to Nathan Aspinall, but a good run there where you beat Johnny Clayton. Many people arguing him as the most informed player in the world at the minute. I suppose you were happy with your run in that particular day, but the Players' Championship overall, for anyone that doesn't know, it's basically behind closed doors. There's no fans there. It's pretty quick format, first to six in the early opening rounds. It's a chance to get money on the board, get victories under your belt. Do you feel pressure in those tournaments, despite no crowd? As in, you need to perform when you're going over to
No.
Milton Keynes or Bolton or wherever it is?
No, I don't feel pressure. I mean, to be honest with you, if anything, I feel dead. Very hard. I find it very hard to get up for a game, and I don't know why. Just can't seem to get up for a game. Just dead. I seem to need a bit of adrenaline and crowd chanting and roaring on, and to kind of get into it, like, But look, something I'm going to have to adapt to it, because you have to start playing well in those to progress. That's where you have to start. So I have to get into it. Have to get used to it, don't I?
Yeah, because I mean, there's 30 of those every year, so there's an awful lot of prize money up for grabs. But overall, across the 30 of those, were you happy with the money amassed? I mean, I'm sure when people say I mention money of course means ranking points too. It's not just the physical money. You want to be climbing the rankings. What way do you think you fared overall? I know some days you might have been knocked out in the first round, but other days, like I said there, you got through a couple of rounds.
Look, to be honest, I feel it was poor enough, but look, I suppose at the end of the year I put in a bit of an effort and I started to play a bit better again. So it's more down to me. If I put in the effort and put in the time, I'll produce the darts. If I don't, I won't, and it shows in the results. And that's the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, you mentioned putting in the practice there. No, I'm not sure, to clarify your own situation. I believe you had kind of committed just before COVID to go on full time at the darts. How you were working with, I think, Mr. Furniture Man, I think is the name of the company, or Furniture Man in Drumkeen. So where are we at with that? Because COVID wrecked a lot of things for a lot of people.
No, I'm not working there anymore, although he does look after me, in fairness. Bernard Keogh here, he's a Furniture Man. He sponsors me for the darts. He's my only sponsor. So yeah, he looks after me well and all the rest. But no, I'm not. I don't work there anymore. I bought a bit of property recently, so I'm doing a bit of work there at the moment, and hopefully get in there soon. So that's my focus at the minute, to get in there.
Yeah, and while that is obviously focus in terms of family, but in terms of the darts, so do you how much time can you give to it every week? I mean, you do hear other professionals talking about that they need to spend more time on the practice sport, or some of them say they don't spend any time at all. But where does it fall?
It's not easy. You see, it's not easy standing at the board for hours and hours on end. You get pains in your legs, your ankles, your arms, your elbows. It's your joints. Your joints get sore from it. So I do little bits and pieces, do small sessions, small bits of time here and there. Just do whenever you feel like doing a bit of practice. You feel like you need to do it. I mean, if you practice bad, stay away from it, because you're going to be practicing the wrong things. So I put in the time when I need to do it, and as much as I can. But life gets in the way sometimes. You can only do what you can do. Yeah,
the lack of competitive, especially in 2020.
Especially over COVID. Like, I mean, this COVID thing, I mean, I intended to put in so much more into it than COVID started. And it was going well until that point in as well, And then it was a bit of a downer, because everything just went pear-shaped, to be honest with you. And, that's the way, just life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way, yeah. But some of the other professions, I know that I think the most high-profile example was Dimitri Vandenberg. I think he ended up living with Peter Wright. Obviously, that situation isn't replicated for you. But could you see there how two obviously great darts players like that would benefit from having a competitive environment amongst each other? Whereas in your case, you're saying maybe you might have put in the time completely by yourself.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on your mentality. I mean, if that's what you're happy with and that's what you want to do, you do it. But like, I mean, for me, my family is more important. You know what I mean? So everyone has their own commitments and their own opinion of things. And for me, my family is everything. Darts is second, So I would rather spend the time at home, to be honest with you, rather than win any tournament or any competition. So everyone's different. So, I mean, if you don't enjoy it and you don't want to do it, it's not going to benefit you, like.
Yeah, you'll be hoping to enjoy your venture into this World Championship. But if this World Championship was, if you were to set a target for it, I know you're going to say you want to win the first round, of course you do. But would coming back after Christmas Day be an achievement that would mean, I think, from the way it's looking, that would mean a third round contest for you again?
It would, yeah. To give it a chance there to put in that bit of extra time again, because like you say, it's ranking or whatever. But at the end of the day, money is money. Like, and money is what make the world go round. So if I did get that extra couple of quid, you know, it does make life easier, and you can put that extra bit of time in and maybe spend more time at the darts. So it does make a big difference, you know, and that's where I hope to be anyway, is to be back there after Christmas. That's the plan, for sure, I suppose, because everyone's plan. So we'll see what happens. Like,
yeah, you mentioned there the winning of money. The money is in the World Championship is heavily skewed, you know, compared to all the other events. Really,
it is
500,000 for the winner. You know, if you don't perform here, you could find yourself sliding down the rankings in a lot of players' cases. So does that you'd mentioned there's no real pressure, but do you feel that there's more media attention on this? There's more interest from the general public. Is that palpable most years? I know last year was obviously different because no one was out and about, but you know, people who don't really follow darts. I spoke to a guy recently who said, the darts, is that not a Christmas thing? He kind of thought it was just brought back for Christmas. So, you know, can you feel that's what the World Championship is to people and what it is in general?
It is, yeah. It's huge for some people, you know. It's huge for a lot of people, and people that don't even follow darts in general. They do follow the Christmas, you know, and they look forward to it every year as well. And like you say, some people don't just relate darts with Christmas. So, but also another way, yeah, like you say, with the media and all the rest, like, yeah, it does put an extra bit of pressure on you and all the rest as well. And you do feel it a bit different than every other tournament. You know, especially like you say with the money. Like, the money is so top heavy in it that this is your chance. You know, it's your chance to shine here. Like, this is where it needs to be done. So it depends how you look at it. Like, yeah, but you have to look at it the right way and carry the pressure the right way and take advantage of it. Like, because you know, it comes around once a year.
Yeah, it's one of the only high profile event in the PDC event that I can think of that is set play. You know, the rest are more or less over straight leg format. Does the set play, you know, obviously you want to win every single leg, but does the set play allow for maybe a slow start or to dwindle in concentration in the middle of a game? But how does that feed into it? Because like last weekend you were playing best of 11, and if you lost any 6 of those legs, you were gone. Whereas, you know, if you lose 6 legs here, you find yourself 2 sets down. You do have a chance to come back.
You do and you don't. Like, I mean, you have a long way to come back. If you go 2 sets down here, you have a long way to come back. It's not just 2 legs.
Last year with Daryl Gurney, you came back to 2-2 from 2-0 down.
But it's such a long. It's not simple to keep that going. You know what I mean? You can get 2 sets. Very hard to get 3 in a row. I suppose, look, it's a mind play. It's a mindset. Like, it depends how you look at it. Like, for me, you just have to go up there, play your best, and if you play good enough on the day, you're going to come out with the win. And if you don't, you won't. And if you try and put pressure and try and force it, it's not going to go right. You have to let it flow and just let things happen, you know. And that's what you practice for. You have to let it go. If you try and force it, I can guarantee you it's not going to go. It'll only go worse. And I'm telling you, the harder you try, the worse it'll get. You have to relax, just let it flow.
Maybe that's why I've been hitting the wall so much. But
well, that'll happen, yeah.
Yeah, but looking at you know, we mentioned there a few minutes ago the return of crowds. I think it wasn't too long before COVID, you came out to probably one of the most raucous Irish darts crowds ever, really, when you played it as a challenger at the Premier League against Michael Glen Durrant. I think I've watched that clip every time I seem to come across it on either Facebook or Twitter. I seem to watch it. It's such a raucous crowd. Everyone singing Zombie. Like, I don't even know how you settled yourself down to throw the darts after that, because I don't know, was it 12,000 people standing up singing that? It was a pretty remarkable way for a walk on, you know, and to actually have to settle down against the then world number one. How did you manage that? How did you find that night overall?
It was lovely. I enjoyed it. You know, it was one of the best nights I ever put down there. Anyway, I'd love to do it again. Look, it was definitely it was a good experience. Or definitely a good experience is what I would say. Like you say, trying to settle down after was the hardest part, and it was very hard to settle. But it did take me a couple of legs kind of to settle because of it and all the rest. But I did settle, and you know, to go to some good finishes. I wasn't at my very best or anything, but I was solid enough. Yeah, it was a good night, and you know, I know I can handle it. Like, so it'd be worse if I went up there and I felt as though I couldn't deal with it, and I wouldn't want to get up there again, you know. But I felt as though I could deal with it. So yeah, look, I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy for the opportunity as well. So I have to say thanks to the PDC for the opportunity as well.
Yeah, the Premier League, it's funny how they pick the players. Sometimes it's maybe an informed player, or sometimes it's obviously there's a couple of players automatically qualify. It's something that I'm sure if you really climbed up the rankings and really did well in tournaments, you'd love another shot at it. Obviously, as an actual player in it rather than just a one-off challenger. Is that something that is a realistic target for you, think, coming into the next couple of years?
We'll see. For me, I'm not sure yet. Look, my kids are a bit too young for all that travelling, so I don't know if I want to do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a nice problem to have, though, would it?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't like it.
Right.
Too much time away from home. I see the lads there, and there's a lot behind it. It's not all glamour. Like, it's terrible. You know what I mean? The amount of travelling, and you're living in a suitcase. Like, I mean, it's not a nice lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's not nice. So it's, for me, no, not at the moment. I wouldn't like it. Not saying I wouldn't do it, but I definitely wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I do remember. I think they were speaking about Johnny Clayton when he qualified, that he would effectively give up his job because while in that format it was each Thursday night, but it's effectively what goes around that there's something on the day before.
Yeah, but he's going to have to be there on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, he might finish a pro tour till Sunday, so he might get home for Monday, and he's gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's going straight from there to Barnsley maybe for Players' Championships, and he's there till the following Monday, and he's going back home for one day, and he's gone to the Premier League, and that's the home one day a week. Maybe not.
Yeah, it might depend on the flights back to Shannon.
You might get home at all. You might get home for a month. So
pretty relentless schedule, and just, I suppose, just moving on from that, speaking of Johnny Clayton, and people are speaking of him as a potential shot for world glory this year. Speaking of, people speak of him about his A game and how good his A game is. Do you subscribe to that? The players have A and B games. That people will say, "Oh, Michael van Gerwen's B game could beat anyone more or less on the tour." But do you feel that is a thing, or is it just a case of every single game, every single day is going to be completely different?
I think every game is different. Every day is different. I don't know. Look, I mean, your A game. What's your A game? I suppose I wouldn't call it. Just, you on form or you're not on form, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really look into it all. Like, I mean, I just go up there and just try and win my game, and that's it. Like,
okay, and just another thing that I found, as a darts fan, find very interesting is, I suppose, the histrionics, or if, for want of a better expression, that some players portray on the board on the Aki. Some players, they could hit a 9-darter and they may not even celebrate. They may hit a 180. Other players and there'll be fist bumps galore. Where do you land in that? Do you see it as gamesmanship? Do you see it as just part of the game? Is every player entitled to act how they wish while they're up there?
Well, I mean, everyone is entitled to do it, aren't they? I mean, after that, it's just opinion. So what's my opinion on it? Like, I don't like it. Look, you're okay to celebrate. I don't mind anyone celebrating. Celebrating's fine. It's part of the game. It's good for crowd. It's good for everything. But I don't like when people get in people's faces, and that starts to get personal. Then, like, I mean, I don't like that. I mean, go up there, celebrate, do your thing, take your darts out of the board, come back, let the game go on. I mean, you can celebrate and have a good time and everything else without getting in someone's face, like. But that some players do it intentionally as gamesmanship, and it is gamesmanship, no matter what way you look at it, like.
Yeah, just to get that extra 50%.
But I'm not saying that everyone that celebrates is at that, like, because it's just a celebration. I mean, a celebration shouldn't put you off, and if it does, you're on the wrong game, like. But there is certain aspects to it where people do go out of their way to put you off. And I suppose in some ways you shouldn't let it put you off. You should be prepared for it as well, like. And it is part of the game, and it's something that you're probably going to have to get used to, because look, it's what they want. It gets everyone talking. It's good for the crowd. The crowd love it. They get involved. It's not going anywhere, like.
Yeah. I do recall an incident, I'm not sure the year now, but yourself and Max Hopp. I know you I think it was in Germany itself. Max Hopp is German, for anyone watching in, but you looked to egg on the crowd. In hindsight,
I didn't have to egg the crowd on at all. The crowd, you mightn't have heard it over the microphone. Sometimes you need to be in the hall to hear it.
Yeah, the crowd were pretty. They were pretty up for it already without any Willie O'Connor interaction.
I was sick.
Yeah, but looking back in that incident, I know you won't be able to play Max Hopp because he's not at the Worlds this year. But looking back in that scenario, would you approach it any differently if the same scenario presented itself, into the future?
You see, I don't know. I mean, you can go in there with whatever mindset you want, but at the end of it, you don't know what will come out of there. Depends what's said. Like, people get very insulting as well. Like, you know what I mean? It just depends. I mean, I'll just pass on that one.
Okay. That's absolutely fine, yeah. But I suppose some people would have seen that in last year's World Championship that I think it was Mensur Suljovic against Gary Anderson, in my opinion, shot himself in the foot because he is a slow player in relative terms, but he played, I suppose, extremely slow, and maybe sometimes people can overthink these things. He played extremely slow against Gary Anderson, and ultimately Gary Anderson won out. So I suppose sometimes it's probably best for players to just concentrate on the job at hand, and that's throwing the darts into the dartboard.
I know sometimes, but sure, it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're more or less covered on that, William. But I suppose finally, as a Limerick man, do you feel the love? Do you feel the interest in darts in Limerick and I suppose the surroundings? Yeah. Do you think? I suppose you'll feel that support as when you're over there. And I know maybe there won't be many or any Limerick people over, other than maybe family and friends, but you'll be hoping that there'll be a bit of a push on from, I suppose, Cappamore and beyond to just get you over the line in these games. Yeah,
look, it's great. It gives you great encouragement. And a great sense of pride when you're up there, and you get all these messages and everyone telling you that best of luck and all the rest of it. Like, it's great. It's very, very good, and it's good for the confidence and everything as well. And sometimes it does help you get over that line. You need that little bit of a push, and they definitely help. Like.